What's up, dudes? I'm working on my Trailblazer, Procharged Trailblazer, and I went ahead and skipped a little bit because you know, you guys have seen me pull the engine out several times, so this is where we're at right now. And I'm ready to hook the engine lift up to the engine and pull it out. And the reason I'm pulling it out is because it's got a blown head gasket. I think I might have mentioned that previously. That's the problem we were having up there in Kentucky. And let's see, let me show you guys one easy way that you can tell. I mean, I knew it had a blown head gasket, but I'm just gonna see if I can show you a real easy way to tell. There it is. See how clean that spark plug is? It's all silver and shiny. That means it's been being steam cleaned. Alright, because this is what all the other ones look like. Here, I'll hold two of them up together just in case. Big difference. So, anyway, we're going to get this thing pulled out and go ahead and get it tore down, see what's going on, see if the damage is just as simple as a head gasket. Hopefully it is. But my plans are actually to go ahead and use the engine I got from the junkyard to put in here because it's clean and it's got Gen 4 rods and pistons in it. Some of you guys know this is a Gen 3 motor. It's an LM4. So it's got Gen 3 rods and stuff in it, which it's still a good engine. I mean, the power level I was at, it's not a problem, but you know, I figured since I came across that one, I might as well use it, you know. And then this one, you know, I'll freshen it up and get it all put back together. And who knows what I'll do with this one, but you know, we'll just have to see what happens. So anyway, and then I guess the other thing I should mention is probably why I blew a head gasket is because I actually have stock head bolts in this thing, and so that would probably be the issue. But I've actually got head bolts for this engine and I've got head studs for that engine, so that won't be an issue for either one. See if we can see those. There's the head bolts for the Gen 3 engine right there. It took months to get those things in. I mean, that was crazy. But anyhow, that's where we're at right now. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing poured out, and then we'll just see what we get into. What do you think? Did we get it out?
Yeah.
You did a good job.
Mm.
Yeah. Is it heavy? Or are you super strong and it doesn't matter?
Super strong.
Yeah. Are you like Superman? Little Superman?
Yep.
Yep.
Well,
tell us about the engine a little bit. Tell us about it. What all do you see? Tell us what you see.
Only that?
Yeah, what is it? Is it dirty?
Yeah.
That was the first thing you said when we took it out. It got dirty. Didn't it?
My hook got vacuumed off now.
Yeah, we're going to turn the heater on, I think. It's cold out here. It's like 34 degrees or something, 32.
Wow.
I don't even know how to look. All I know is it's cold. Is it cold outside?
Yep.
Yep.
Definitely.
So, how many times do you think you pushed the pump to get it out?
One. 2, 3,
But
4.
how many overall? You think maybe it was like 30 or 40 times?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yep, that was good too. Alright, so do you have anything else to say about this engine?
That's it.
That's it. What about like maybe, I don't know, bye-bye engine, bye-bye. What are we gonna put in here?
Let's take it off.
No, what are we gonna put in the truck now?
What is this hot?
Oh, don't pull that up.
What is that?
That'll make a mess.
What?
Let's keep in the fluid in the transmission.
What is that?
Hey, what are we gonna put in the truck next?
That?
Go show us. Let's go see it. What are we gonna put in the truck next? You gotta tell them.
Next.
Tell them what we're doing.
This engine?
Yeah, but tell them, say, we took this engine out of the truck,
Put this engine out of the hook.
and then you gotta say we're gonna put this one in.
We gotta put this one in.
Alright, ready? Go ahead, say it. Say, we took this one out of the truck, now we're gonna put this one in the truck.
We gotta put this one out of the hook. We gotta put this one in the hook.
Yep.
Also, we gotta put this one back in.
Yeah?
And this. And do.
Y'all know, right? Is this one better?
A little bit.
Oh, yeah, just a little bit.
Both of them are signed.
They're pretty much the same, and they are both fine. But this one's just maybe a tiny bit better, huh? Alright, well, I don't know. I guess we're gonna get the transmission pulled off of here, get everything stripped down, put it on the engine stand, and pull the heads off, because I really want to see how bad that situation is right there. Hopefully it's just a head gasket.
What is that right
So
there?
we'll find out
What
which one.
is that sign?
What is it?
It says Hardboard Garage.
It does say Red Car Garage.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, let's get some work done, okay?
Alright.
Sound good? Alright.
Now.
Well, fellas, I'm gonna take a little break, and I gotta run, take some trash to the dump, and so I figured this would be a good time to point out. Well, sort of a good time because my truck is everywhere, all over the garage now. But I kind of reconfigured everything, and as you can see, I kind of reorganized the pegboard. Got a lot of stuff off of there, like transmission parts and stuff that I didn't really need up here. I redid my bench, and I made space for storage tubs underneath the bench. So all 9 of those tubs used to be up there on the shelf, and so that left a lot more space. And I've also got a covering coming. I'll show that next time, but I'm still not done with this. I'm gonna be putting something on the top of there and the sides, and I think I'm gonna paint these cabinets black maybe. But anyway, just been organizing everything, trying to get it to where I can actually turn around without falling on my face or something, But basically everything that's in here right now is all off of my truck. All this stuff's off my truck. So anyway, thought y'all might enjoy that. But check this out. This is what blows my mind. Pretty much all of this came out of the garage. There's some metal, there's some just old stuff that I didn't need anymore. Of course, those are the seats out of the 4Runner. Those weren't actually in the garage, but just trying to get things a little more organized. I try, Anyway, I'm gonna quick run this stuff over to the dump, get rid of it. So my poor trailer's not covered in all this junk. Got the ultrasonic cleaner all cleaned out, and got some water displacement Formula 40 in there. And I'm gonna run all these valve train parts, push rods, rocker arms, and the old hydraulic lifters. See if I can get some of this milkshake out of them. That stuff's pretty thick. It was a pretty fresh oil change of VR150 racing oil. And then it got turned into a milkshake with approximately 30 miles on it, so that's nice. So I gotta try to wash all that stuff out. And we'll get to hopefully putting this other engine together. Alright, there's been a few developments in the last, I'd say about 4 days. First of all, I'm on my GoPro 3 now because for some reason my GoPro 9 just completely took a crap. I don't know why. I didn't do anything to it. Like, it just turned off and then wouldn't turn back on. So, just keeps beeping. And anyway, I've done all the troubleshooting steps. I guess I'm going to have to send it to them or something like that. Luckily, at least I have something to film with. So if the quality is not, it's different, obviously. Now you know why. So anyway, now back to the project. I got to working on the Gen 4 block that we were going to put in the truck. And yes, I did say were. The block is great. There's no problems with the block itself. But I ended up finding a problem with the crankshaft. And I don't have it in here. It's outside. But basically, the center bearing, I went and dug two of the bearings out of the trash so I could just show you guys. It just made more sense to me. So basically, on LS engines, the number 3 main bearing is a thrust bearing. And so you can see this is what the normal ones look like. And then the center one has this thrust bearing. So basically on each side of the bearing, you got this surface all the way around, and that's what controls the crankshaft from moving forward and backwards. So on the one that I got from the junkyard, I was getting ready to pull the oil pump off of it, and I just happened to notice that the crankshaft moved a good bit. So as I started tearing it down, I realized that like everything else was clean. It was just that one thrust bearing, but the thrust bearing was messed up. It was ate up into the block. I mean, not the block, the crankshaft itself. So that crankshaft was toast. And so my thoughts were, if I'm going to replace the crankshaft, which I am, I don't see much of a point in using that block because I was originally just planning on basically just refreshing it and throwing it in the truck. But since I'm gonna do a new crank and everything, I'm just gonna go ahead and stick with my block that I had in here before. So I've got it all stripped down, and so far everything looks good. I've got to check the heads, and you know, I may have to run those over to my dude down the street and get them decked in the morning. But the other thing that I thought was crazy about this engine is it had been rebuilt before. I don't know who did it. I don't have any history on this thing, obviously. But if you look at the cam that came out of it, you can see that the bearings weren't centered, for one thing. But this metal bearing, it's it's not good. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the other surfaces are really smooth. And, you know, this one right here, it's not unusable, but it's not smooth either. And I got to inspecting the bearings inside the block, and they didn't put the right bearings in there. So the center bearing, like, first of all, they used the narrow bearings. The older engines had like a real narrow bearing. I think, like, I don't know the exact number, like 0.580 or something like that. And then the new ones are something like 690. So I mean, they're a good bit wider. You may be able to tell the difference because my block, I actually upgraded to the wider bearings. So you can see how wide it is. It pretty much takes up the whole spot in the block there. And if we look at this other one, just so you guys can get a comparison, you can see how narrow those bearings are. And you know, it's not necessarily critical, but when you're building a performance engine, you know, the wider the bearing, the more the load is distributed, and there's less strain on the bearing itself. So anyway, the main thing was the center bearing was kind of not great, and I can't get cam bearings for at least the ones that I want for a couple weeks for some reason. So that's the other thing. That was kind of the clincher for me going ahead and sticking with this block. There's nothing wrong with it. I've been through it, checked it. Everything's beautiful on it. The bearings all look good when I tore it apart and everything, but I'm just going to go ahead and go with new crank. And what I'm actually going to do is put the flat tops from the other engine in my engine. Mine's an LM4, so I had the disc pistons, the older pistons. And so if I go with these flat tops, it'll bump the compression up a little bit. And also, this one's got the newer rods, and they're known to be a lot stronger. And I guess you can tell side by side why. But now these hold good power, don't get me wrong. But one thing, you know, the rods are stronger. We'll have a little bit more compression. And the other cool thing is these are floating wrist pins, and these are pressed. So what that means is the wrist pin is actually pressed into the rod itself, so it doesn't spin in the rod, it only spins in the piston. So I don't know if you can see this, but you know, the rod or the wrist pin itself is just moving in the piston, and that's it. And that's okay, but if you ever, you know, get these pistons a little bit hot to the point where this wants to seize up, it's kind of like game over. Whereas on these, if you get them a little bit hot, you kind of got sort of a backup. You can just tell how much better, you know, like right there, the wrist pin's not even moving in the piston. It can, but you know, it just gives you kind of like a backup. You know, if you get this thing a little bit hot and the wrist pin locks up in the piston, you still got this one that's able to move, and it keeps it from, you know, it's just one more step it has to go through before it basically grenades itself. So like I said, I didn't have any problems with these. They're still good, nothing wrong with them, but I figured, you know, I'll go ahead and bump the compression up. And you know, I've got some ideas in my head for that engine. I'm not sure which one's going to come to fruition, but you know, it may just get rebuilt kind of stock. I might put together a swap and sell it, or put it in something myself, or it's possible I might get a forged rotating assembly and put in this thing. And the other idea that I'm kicking around, which is a little further off than the other two, but it's a possibility, is I might send this bad boy off and go ahead and get it bored out and re-sleeved to a 427. That's something that can be done with this block that can't be done with this block. So it's something about how the blocks are made. I'm not really sure, but for some reason they don't re-sleeve the Gen 3 blocks. They only do the Gen 4. So that's another reason I'm going with this one, because I've got a little more options with that one. And you know, like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna sell it, keep it, put it in something else. If I do like a 427, I still probably might, you know, get another car to put it in, maybe a BMW M3 or something like that. Just build another something. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it in the Trailblazer. I have no idea, but you know, if you want to find out, I guess stick around. You know. So now that we got all that blah 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 out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting this thing wiped down, cleaned up, and go ahead and get to checking the bearing clearances and putting the bottom end back together. And the other thing I'm going to do, I've got all my pistons numbered, and so what I'm going to do is keep the rings from my old pistons and put them on the new pistons, because they've already been file fit, you know, for boost. So and they don't have a lot of miles on them. They still look really good. So these I can clean up. This was the cylinder that had the worst head gasket leak, but all that stuff wipes off. It just looks worse than it is. But anyway, I'm gonna do that. That way I don't have to file fit the rings or anything like that. So as long as everything looks good, I don't come across anything that looks bad. That's my plan, is to take all these rings, put them on these pistons, and put these pistons in the engine with the new crank. So then we'll have a fresh bottom end. The bearings, the cam bearings look great. My cam is perfect. That's the one over there to the right. So I'm gonna clean it up, put it right back in. I think I showed you guys, I'm sure I did, it's been a few days, but I ran my lifters, push rods, rocker arms, all that stuff through the ultrasonic cleaner. Got all that stuff cleaned up so I could try to get the milky oil out of it and everything. So once I get this bottom end done, like I said, I'm going to check the heads. Oh, they're over there on the shelf. And I'm going to check those and see if I need to have them decked. I'm going to put a flat edge on them, straight edge, and check them thoroughly, see what's going on. And if I don't need to get them done, then I can have this engine put together basically now, you know, a few hours. But if not, I'll have to go in the morning and get those things decked. There's that bad bearing right there, the thrust bearing. Alright, so there's the good side, and then that's the bad side. And you know, the inside of the bearing didn't look great, but the crankshaft looked everything looked clean. All the rod bearings and everything was clean. It was just that bearing right there, and that's a big problem. You know, I would be willing to bet, I haven't tore that transmission down yet. It's that one right there, but I'd be willing to bet the pump's probably broken in the transmission. And so that, you know, when that crankshaft starts floating back and forth, you can have a couple problems. One of them is going to be, you know, that it can cause your belt to keep coming off. You know, it causes problems with the transmission, like the, you know, the torque converter moving too far in or out or something. You know, it was moving forward, so that's why I think the pump and the transmission is probably broken, because if you pull those fingers out enough, they're not really contacting the torque converter enough, and it'll actually break them off. It's a fairly common issue for people that don't know about shimming them and checking the pump engagement. So that's one of the main things, and I would be willing to bet when I get around to tearing that transmission apart that we're going to find that that's why it was in the junkyard. They probably didn't know anything was wrong with the engine. Probably just thought the transmission went out and didn't want to spend the money on it again. So like I said, that engine's been rebuilt. I'm sure the transmission has, because it didn't have a stock torque converter in it. So they'd probably had their fill, you know, of repair cost on that thing. So anyway, I'm gonna, like I said, get this thing cleaned up, start implementing all the stuff I just told you, and you know, I'll probably film some of it, and I'll probably, you know, just catch up with you when I get done. So Yeah,